Canal Trust stirs up Waterless loo fans.
Composting or waterless toilets are a fascination for boaters, with a fast-growing fan base on the canals amongst those whose boat is their home. So when CRT suddenly, without warning or consultation, switched from saying solid waste from those toilets could be double bagged and binned in their waste facilities, to announcing that it was immediately banned, as it was allegedly in contravention of waste regulations, there was immediate uproar. The Trust reckons about 1,000 boaters have waterless toilets, but the experts in the Compost Toilets for Boats and Off-Grid Living Facebook group believe that's an underestimate, and there were certainly enough of them to bring around a swift, if partial, U-turn by the Trusts, who said bagging and binning could continue but only to the end of this year. Research by the remarkable Kate Saffin for the group showed about half boaters were bagging and binning, and she discovered that a typical user is a liveaboard couple without a home mooring who have had the toilet for more than a year, having removed an existing chemical system. Following the CRT announcement, just under a third now plan to start fully composting, a third will continue binning this year and then decide, while the rest will carry on binning regardless, or will compost only part of the time and bin for the rest, regardless of the rules. But what's puzzled most boaters is why CRT is suddenly spinning like a top over waterless toilets. Boater Andy Burns, who's the director of a company involved in waste processing, was in little doubt the Trust was being pressurised by its waste contractors, Biffa. He said,
"We know the waste handling companies very well, how they operate and what their main drivers are. This current problem smacks very heavily of Biffa not wanting to put our solid waste into their incinerators. It is purely a commercial issue. They seem to be pressurizing CRT, who are now in a pickle."
He says it's rubbish for CRT to claim that bagged human poo may be a regulatory issue, pointing out that it falls under the same waste code as dog poo and soiled nappies, and CRT hasn't banned either of those from their bins. Andy Burns goes on,
"This solid waste does not contravene regulations if dog poo and nappies are covered. I've checked nappies out, and the numbers suggest there are 5,000 tons per week of wee and poo in the soiled nappies generated. For dogs it looks like the number is 1,000 tons per day of dog poo. Whilst the CRT are not likely to see many nappies, a large number of boaters have dogs, and as an average dog is producing just under half of what myself and wife are producing per week in solids, CRT must be seeing at least 10 times the amount of dog poo than our solid waste. I think they are under great pressure from Biffa to not put this stuff in their incinerators, purely on commercial grounds, and the new guidance is just what they have agreed with Biffa to limit how much the boater puts in the bins. The question to the CRT is if you can put nappies and dog poo in the bin. Why not these solids?"
Kate Saffin of the Compost Toilets for Boats group has now shared her research with Canal and River Trust and says they are now keen to facilitate sustainable alternative options. She's talking to the business boating managers about supporting groups such as boat clubs that lease land from them to have composters and to work up a template that could be used across the system, as well as allowing CRT moorings online to have composting facilities. Kate is chairing a meeting with all the manufacturers of waterless toilets and CRT, and more meetings are planned. CRT, for its part, is promising it will help progress a pilot collection scheme for East London, and Kate is aiming for some sort of conference or gathering later in the year. Given that the Trust was making a big fuss about green boating just a week or two ago, its attitude to waterless toilets on boats has been contradictory at best. It remains to be seen whether it can get its act together.
Big boys expand marina empires.
And now a look at the business of farming boats. Castle Marinas has acquired Brinklow Marina between Coventry and Rugby on the North Oxford, making it one of the biggest inland marina groups in the country. Brinklow has 200 berths and brings Castle's total to 2,600. It sits alongside BWML, which was sold off by the Canal and River Trust and owns large marinas such as Sawley and a dozen more around the country. And more recently the ABC Leisure Group, which has grown its portfolio to 15 marinas as it's gone beyond those it operates for a hire fleet. It's interesting that whilst the CRT has never been too keen on boats being used as homes, almost all the major marina operators now see liveaboard boaters as a source of income, charging premium rates and even investing in non-moving houseboats for people who never want to leave the marina.
Woohoo! We're moving!
Boating is back as hire boats set off.
Well, boating is back. With the first hire boat setting out this week, there are lots of optimistic noises being made by the holiday boat industry. Canal holidays are some of the first to get underway again, and both CRT and the hire boat businesses are optimistic. Much will depend on where the customers come from, of course. Many of the biggest players make top dollar from foreign bookings, especially from Europe, America and Japan, and China now, and they will dry up this year, although they are hoping more domestic bookings will compensate. Smaller local fleets in canal hotspots like the Shropshire Union and the Llangollen are already benefiting with bookings from the first day they were allowed to hire a boat out. In these early days of reopening, a major issue will be a rash of stoppages across the system, 4 times as many as in the same period last year, according to Alan Richards, who extracts such data directly from CRT. It's currently true that attempting to move from the Midlands to the north, there's just a single route open on the River Trent.
Brit boaters abandon Europe.
Finally, a look beyond these shores with news from the Mallorca Daily Bulletin that Brexit is driving British boats out of the sunny waters of the Mediterranean. The UK Cruising Association says a survey of its members who keep their boats on the rivers and canals of Schengen countries has revealed that 80%, no fewer, are likely to take them back to the UK or sell and give up cruising altogether. It says the failure of the UK and EU to reach an agreement means that UK citizens can now only visit Schengen countries for 90 days in every 180. Making it impossible for boat owners to spend a whole season exploring Europe's coasts and inland waterways. The association concludes it will weaken the long-standing cultural ties between British and European boating communities and damage efforts to revive tourism after COVID. That's it.